This video is going to cover the summer 2014 CAP2 SFMA question, focusing particularly on the foreign exchange risk element of it. So again, as we said before, your best practice, have a quick look at the requirements, just to give you a flavour of what's going to be in the case study, in particular for the large case studies, because there could be a number of elements within it. We're going to pay particular attention to part V. So the question is, assess the effects of the hedging of the order of Chinese components using money market, forward and payment and ordering. And based on this and other factors, advise jostle. So again, we know straight away we have three alternatives and we have to make some conclusion or give some advice and consider other factors. And that's 10 marks, so 10% of your paper. And an important trend that we are seeing now from the examiner is that the foreign exchange or risk management in general is becoming part of the case study. So students cannot avoid studying risk management. So if we go up and we look at the brief about the case study, Jostle 5 years ago was established, and it operates in the consumer electronics market, and it delivers high-speed tablets across the European Union. So if we go back, there's different sections for some of the other components of the case study. We're going to focus particularly here on the risk management paragraph. So since founding the company, John and Diane have focused really on their design and manufacture to the detriment of their risk management and working capital. So a new finance director has come in and they're going focusing now on risk management. Jostle sources many of its manufacturing components in China, so again there's naturally foreign exchange risk there. And a sudden appreciation in Chinese yuan last year increased costs to the extent that profits were down. So again, thinking about what's the risk there. If the Chinese currency, Chinese yuan, increases, that means in euro terms, which Jostle operates in, the inputs are going to cost a lot more. So that's the fear there. So we'll go to Appendix 2, we'll figure out what the information provided was. So just go down to page 10. So the appendix here. So we're told the Chinese yuan order is placed next month. So 10,000 units at 206 Chinese yuan per unit and credit terms. So you're given a spot rate, 3 month forward, and you're given floating rates. And you're told what they can borrow and sell at, and you're told about the forward. So remember, the question is, we have to look at the three alternatives: payment and ordering, money market hedge, and forward exchange, and using the forward. So remember, go back to before. You look at, firstly, this gives a good summary of the different alternatives. We're going to look at the money market, and we're going looking at a forward in this instance, and payment and ordering. But more importantly, we want to understand this. So if you have any risk management question, you need to use this approach to when you're answering the calculative aspects. First, understand the position. We know Jostle purchase their inputs in Chinese yuan. Therefore, if what they're afraid of is if the Chinese yuan appreciates, it's going to cost them more in euro terms. What are the options? Well, we're given three options. One is to pay on ordering and we get a discount. Two is to use the money market hedges. And three is to use a forward exchange rate. Next step, then, the most important one is run the numbers. And we're given information here to allow us to run the different numbers, and particularly with regards to that as well, understand how do we compare each of the alternatives, and we're comparing them based on one order, and which is the most best alternative based on this order. So the first thing is, and particularly when you're doing calculations like this, put everything in an appendix. All the calculations in an appendix, and when you come to the final step of giving advice, bring in a neat table into the main report or memo that you're creating, so it's nice and clear and cross-reference your workings. So the first thing we look at is, well, we look at what is the order. The order is for 10,000 units times 206 Chinese yuan. That means the total bill will be 2 million. So just over 2 million Chinese yuan. And from that perspective then, we want to make sure that, well, in euro terms, we want to hedge that. Because in euro terms, based on the current spot rate of 8.25, it will cost us approximately 250,000. But if the Chinese yuan increased or appreciated as it did before to 8, it would actually cost us 257,000. So again, the more Chinese yuan appreciates, the dearer it's going to be for Jostle in euro terms. So the first alternative we look at, so we look at option 1. is payment on ordering. So this is the option that if you pay on ordering and you're going to get, we're told here, if you invoice to be settled, pay on ordering and avail of a 1% discount. So basically if we pay on order, we're going to say cost less discount. So it's going to cost us just over 2 million yuan times 0.99, because we get a 1% discount. So just 2.039 million Chinese yuan. What's the spot rate? Because if we pay today, we'll use the spot rate is 8.25, the information we're told in the question. So that means in today's terms, it's actually going to cost us 247,200 euro. So we know if we go payment and ordering, that's how much it's going to cost, and there's no FX risk. So that's your first, again, fairly straightforward one. Usually it's helpful to start with the easier one first, be it the unhedged option or the payment, simulated payment on ordering. So we look at option 2 now. 2, which we'll say is to use the forward rate. So remember, what is the forward rate supposed to do in English? It locks in a rate today that we can use to pay foreign currency or translate foreign currency in a future time period. In this case, 3 months. So 3 month forward, so we know what the cost is already. In Chinese yuan, it is 2.06 million. Just bring down that as well, so we're clear. We know the forward rate is 8.33. So that means if we use the forward rate and lock that in, we will get to a value of 247,298. So again, small bit higher than the payment on ordering. So that's 2 alternatives. Now just to be important here to remember that this 247,298 is actually the cost in 3 months' time. Another important, this cost that we pay in ordering today is the cost today. So just be careful, particularly when you're comparing for an order, that you compare like for like. So this is comparing 2 different time periods. So what you can either do is bring this forward to what will the cost be in 3 months, or what I'm going to do is, this is the cost in 3 months, so I'm going to bring it back and say, well, what's the real net present value cost in today's terms? So if it costs us 247 in 3 months' time, we're going to use the overdraft rate as a proxy for cost of capital to bring it back 3 months. So you're told the overdraft rate, i.e. the borrowing rate in Ireland will be, they can borrow at 1.25 above the base. The base in Ireland is 2.5, so it'll be 1.25 plus 2.5. So they can borrow 3.75%. Now remember, that is for a full year. You're looking for 3 months. So you do that divided by 4, which is 0.9375%. So I use simple discounting there, I divided by 4. You can also use compounding, and you'll see that if you look in the solution. So what you're looking for then is to say, well, this in 3 months' time divided by 1 plus 0.009375. Because remember, it's only 0.9375%. It's not even a full percent. And that gets me, it's going to cost me about 245,000 for using the forward contract in today's money. As well as that, do not forget there is a fee. So again, always read the full question. To take that forward contract, a fee of 1% of the covered amount is also payable. So 1% of, we are covering this amount, because remember that's the forward in 3 months' time. So plus this times 0.01. That means our total cost for the forward is 247,475. Okay, so that's the forward. Keep that in bold, keep that in bold, and that is the cost today, because the fee is up front as well. So that's important. The final one then, option 3, the money market. And now this is one that many students will struggle with, is approaching and not understanding how to approach the money market option. Understand what the purpose is first. You know you have a payment in 3 months of 2 million Chinese yuan. So what you want to think of your goal first and work backwards. you need that cash in Chinese yuan in 3 months. So what you need to do then is, 1, you need to deposit Chinese yuan today to have principal and interest to make payment. So if you deposit enough Chinese yuan today to make sure that in 3 months' time, after it earns a bit of interest, you get your 2 million. So based on that today, you must buy Chinese yuan using euros. Okay, and we put at spot. So we know we need 2.06 million. So what the first thing is, how much deposit rate in Chinese yuan? Because we want to see, well, how much do we need that we can earn interest for 3 months in China to make up some of that difference. So we're told we can deposit at 1% below the base rate. So that's 6.75 minus 1. So we can deposit at 5.75% interest in China. So on that basis, for 3 months, we can get a rate of 1.437. So we need to deposit 2.06 million divided by 1 plus 0.014375. That means we need to deposit about 2.03 million Chinese yuan today to have 2.06 million in 3 months. At spot rate is 8.25. That means we need to deposit, that'll cost us to buy today, it will cost us 246,158. Okay. So now typically when you would do a lot of these, you may also put in opportunity costs of having to forego that money for 3 months here, but remember we're looking at the cost today, so that is the cost today if we buy it today, so we don't need to do any more work there. So now you have the 3 alternatives. That's your first part of the question done. What you need to go on to now is this part, presentation and giving your summary or insight. So what we're going to look at here is option 1, 2, and 3. So all I would do then is bring them down in a neat table, and that's what I'd show in the report. Table like that. That's the wrong one. So it actually shows you fairly clearly what the alternatives are, and you don't have any of the messy workings within your... Now if you want to put cross-reference workings here, you can cross-reference them to appendix. But down you have a clear sight of, well, here's the 3 options, here's what it's going to cost me across each of the options. So the final thing the examiner will be looking for then is to actually, well, you have to make some insight. It did mention that you have to look at other factors. So if we go back here to the requirements, it says based on this analysis and any other relevant factors. So relevant factors here may be, well, if you do pay on ordering, you're actually paying for the goods before you get them. So there is a risk there that you may never get the goods and the supplier's gone with the money. Likewise for both the money market and the forward, they are not exchange traded, so you will have counterparty risk with the other party involved. But based on the analysis here, it looks like the money market hedge, all of them will lock it in. It looks like the money market hedge is probably the most appropriate because it's the most cost beneficial. Again, but there's minimum difference between that. But as long as you measure comments with regards to other factors, i.e. the disadvantage of paying on ordering, and counterparty risk, and then decided which justification, which option you went for, that will get you the marks. So that was the foreign exchange section of last year's case study, which again would have been compulsory for all students sitting the summer 2014 exam.